What's up guys, it's Spiderwolf back for another JJKPhantomparade video. So today we're going to be going over, should you summon this brand new Maki? But before we get started, I'll greatly appreciate you to drop a like, comment, subscribe, really help me out. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, but with that being said, let's continue. So, as we went over in the last couple of videos, last video, you know, Maki's coming out in a couple of days here, as well, you know, 2 new recollection bits. So let's go over, you know, what she does and what makes her so good, as well as the recollection bits. So, as you guys, because you watched the last video, the news one, I mean, then you would know that, you know, we went over the Maki is a double S tier. Now we're going to tell why that is. Why is it he's quite good. I will say a funny thing is that this is our first really good Maki, because you guys don't know, you know, red Maki is down here, A tier with all her buffs. The red one, OG one. Green Maki is actually not bad. I mean, I guess that's not really true, but like, you know, I guess I should be saying really, really good first Maki, right? Second one was good, but not really, really good. And then now we have a really, really good Maki, which is cool. So let's see, like, you know, I was saying what exactly she does. So of course she's physical focused, which makes sense, only physical. Characteristic here, she can't use or recover any cursed energy. Now skill 1 here, flying kunai. Level 1 here, you deal 132 physical damage to one enemy, 3 hits. You can increase your ultimate skill gauge, your own specifically, by 23.7% for 2 turns, and then you get flying kunai state to self for 2 turns. Additionally, applies the following effects when in the following state. So, cutting knife, increase own critical hit rate by 50% for 3 turns. That's kind of crazy. All out full sword, increases own ultimate skill damage. Ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 15% for 3 turns. Now at level 10, we're looking at 220 melee physical damage, and we're looking at increased own ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 35%. So we're getting about an extra 15 on the ultimate gauge, and then we're getting an additional almost like 100 basically extra physical damage, but then everything else is basically the same. Honestly, kind of a cool skill. I guess honestly it's probably still worth upgrading to level 10 just so you can get more skill gauge charge, but yeah, that's still very, very good. And then I'm assuming we'll find out later as to how these different states will work here. Now at skill 2 here, of course, you know, there's going to be no cursed energy involved, so you can use literally whatever skills you want at any point, which is kind of cool about these physical characters. So, cutting knife here, at level 1, you're dealing 265 melee physical damage to one enemy, 3 hits again, and you're increasing your own physical stat by 23.7% for 3 turns, and you're increasing the damage reduction rate and evasion chance from the heavenly restriction auto skill by 14.3% for 1 turn, and you grant yourself cutting knife state to self for 2 turns. Additionally, it applies the following effects when the following states. So if you have flying kunai, you increase your physical stat by 25% for 3 turns. If you have all out full sword, you decrease your own damage received by 10% for 3 turns. Now at level 10, we're looking at 450 physical damage, base 35 physical stat increase by 35% for 3 turns. And then you're also getting now 30% chance for evasion chance from heavenly restriction, and as well as damage reduction rate. And then all the other little buffs here are basically the same. And then this skill basically grants you the cutting knife effect. Skill 1 grants you the flying kunai effect. So, you know, skill 1, 2, 3 is going to grant you 3 different states. So depending which one you want to do, you can do that. And it looks like they're all going to be 2 turns. So there may be a chance we can have 2 turns of potentially maybe 2 different skills or 2 different effects here activate potentially. I'm not too sure, but that might be the case if the state gets applied first, and then it, you know, because if the state gets applied first, then that would be the case. But then again, it does have the state at the very bottom here, so the state might be at the very end, so it might not count. But you know, there is that to keep in mind. So I honestly don't know, because like, yeah, if the state gets applied before the skill activates, then you could technically double up and get like 2 different effects at the same time. Granted, I guess for let me see, because if you do flying state here and then you do this one here, you would only get the flying kunai state here as well. Okay, I guess you can't really stack up, huh? Yeah, because this one, you know, you grant yourself flying kunai, but there's no, if you have flying kunai. This one, same thing. This one gives you cutting knife, but there's no cutting knife specifically for this one, so you can only take advantage of either or depending which one is available. And then finally here, skill 3, all out full sword, deal a level 1, deal 391 melee physical damage to one enemy, and you grant yourself the new state of all out full sword for 2 turns. And then additionally applies the following effects. So if you have flying kunai up, you fill your own ultimate skill gauge by 110. And then if you have cutting knife, you increase your own critical hit damage by 50% for 3 turns. I guess technically I'm wrong. You can stack these up. It's just more so, you know, because some of these do have like multiple different like turns, right? Like there's 3 turns up here. These are 3 turns as well. So I guess you could theoretically stack up like 2, maybe even 3 of these buffs at a time. So from the different, you know, statuses here. Now at level 10, we're looking at 600 melee physical damage to one enemy, and that's pretty much about it. So skill 3 is basically your big damage skill, pretty much, and then skill 2 and skill 3, I mean skill 1 and skill 2 give you different effects here. So basically skill 2 gets you 35% physical damage, as well as increased damage reduction rate and evasion chance from heavy restriction by 30% here. And then skill 1 basically increasing your ultimate skill charge rate. So yeah, I'd say out of all these, I got, in terms of skills, skill 1 and 2 might be better, just so you have higher numbers here, because skill 3, all you're really getting is just more damage, which is still good, but at the end of the day, you know, you can still make out with level 8, which is 553. So I'd say probably want to focus on skill 1 and skill 2 if we're just going based off the skills. But of course, you usually want to focus on the ultimate as the first thing before you do before you delve into which skills to max out. But I'd say you could probably leave skill 3 to for last, since skill 2 and skill 1 are giving you quite significant buffs. Between skill 1 and skill 2 though, honestly they're both worthwhile, but skill 2 does give you technically more damage, whereas skill 1 is just helping you with your ult a bit faster. Now the ultimate here, instant continuous attacks. At level 1, you're dealing 74% range physical damage and 597 melee physical damage to the selected enemy. Interesting ratios, not gonna lie. Now the 4th hit is guaranteed to be a critical hit, and you fill your ultimate skill gauge by 110. So it sounds like Maki here is going to basically be like, her main thing is basically to apply your different buffs here, or states. You get different buffs going on, and then basically you're getting your ult really, really quickly, so you're spamming it like fairly quickly, I'm assuming here. And then at level 10, you're doing now 150 range physical damage and 1,000 physical damage, like melee specifically in this case for Taijutsu here. And then that's pretty much it for that. Yeah, also, you know, very simple, just big damage for the ultimate here. Combo here, you're increasing your own and allies damage dealt by 22% for 2 turns, kind of decent. And then you deal 130% melee physical damage to one enemy here. And then you fill everybody else's ultimate gauge. Now, there's a couple skills here, auto skills. So early bird gets the worm, kind of funny. At the start of each wave, increase own physical stat by 10% for 2 turns, and increase own damage received by 7% for 2 turns. That's actually quite decent. Small damage reduction, or yeah, small damage buff, damage reduction buff, and then a slight damage buff to your physical skill or Taijutsu skill. So that's pretty cool. Now, heavenly instruction here. At the start of the turn, increase your own physical stat for 1 turn, and then the fewer enemies are in the wave, the greater the boost. So if there's 1 enemy, you get a 30% boost. So basically, it's just going to be really good against bosses. So that's cool. If there's 2 enemies, 25%, 3 enemies, 17%, and then if there's 4 enemies, 10% boost for Taijutsu. And at the start of battle, you recover 2% of your own HP at the start of each turn, and you reduce your own damage received by 8%, and you evade enemies' attack chance 8%. So I think all these have chance of 8%, but then of course, if we look earlier, skill 2 here, you're actually able to increase the damage reduction rate and evasion chance up to 30% instead of 8. So it should be maybe, I think, 38% chance, unless it just changes it completely. But yeah, not too bad. Also, one thing I've been noticing as well with some of these characters, besides them having different like states, different like statuses basically, they also seem to be having like a slightly heals them or slightly reduces their damage taken, which is kind of interesting, but also very good for these characters. So that way they can keep pumping out damage and they don't get hurt as easily, so you don't have to really need to worry about a healer as much as you may need to for some other teams. But yeah, overall, really good, really good Maki. Does a lot of damage. I'm assuming she's gonna probably rinse and repeat her ult quite a bit. And yeah, I'd say if you really wanted to, it might not be a bad idea. Somebody, if you really needed another extra really good DPS character. Otherwise, you could probably skip her and maybe try to get her later when she gets out to standard banner. It potentially, most likely next year, if we're being honest, probably next year. Now, for the recollection bits, her banner one is very, very good. It's actually a double S tier. So another reason why you may want to summon. She has a really good recollection bit on her banner rated up. And then I couldn't find the one from the event itself. I don't know if it's even on here, but I tried looking and I didn't see it. But we'll go over that and I'll give my opinions on where I think it probably lands on this tier list. So the one from the one for Maki on her banner, it's mainly physical here, only buffing Taijutsu. So when you do the ultimate skill, you increase your own physical stat by 75% for 1 turn, 1 time. So basically, literally just use it for your ultimate. ultimate here. Now 1 dupe at start of a battle, increase on critical hit rate of 20%, also not too bad. And then at 3 dupes, you're now increasing your own physical stat, the Taijutsu one, by 85% for 1 turn, 1 time. So basically 85%. So basically, this is essentially, if I'm correct, it should just be adult time, but for Taijutsu. Yeah, it's literally just adult time, but for Taijutsu. I guess you could say technically it is stronger because it is 85, whereas adult time is only 75, and you get more, you get an extra 10% crit rate on this. The downside though is that with adult time, you can use it for skills, or as for the Maki one, you can only use it on the ultimate. But then again, you're probably going to only be using this on the ultimate anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. So overall, very, very broken, very, very strong, very, very good. Now, let's take a look at the event one here. This one is also physical focused as well. So if you do any skill or ultimate, increase own break damage with 20% for 2 turns. And then if the equipping character is blue, you additionally increase the break damage by 10%, so you can get up to a total of 30% break damage. Now 1 dupe, if the attacked enemy is in break state or enters break state after attack, you increase your own damage dealt by 20% for 2 turns 1 time. So if you do 1 hit, it's gone. And then if you have it at 3 dupes, you're increasing your own break damage by 30%. And then if they're blue, you increase break damage by 20, so that becomes now 50% break damage for 2 turns. I mean, I guess that's not that bad. I don't know if this would be even considered a support one, because you're not really buffing, you're not really playing a defensive buff, and then you're not really doing like a recovering energy. So this is probably I would say this is a damage one, and since it's only buffing physical here, it's probably gonna land Taijutsu. Now for all that breaking and stuff, because like I guess the breaking is cool, and you do get this 20% damage buff out of it. But other than that, it just well, you only get the damage buff if they're broken and if you're blue. Yeah, because it says it. Here's own break damage with 20%. Hold on, let's see. Oh no, my bad, I read it wrong. So yeah, this is just from own break damage. This one here is where you get the damage for. My bad. So yeah, you only get 20% damage buff if they become broken, or after you attack them, then they become broken. Otherwise, you're just getting break damage out of this. I'd say, in my opinion, this is probably going to be like a B tier one. Maybe A tier. Maybe you can make an argument for A tier, but I'd say it's probably more like B tier for like a physical damage here. It's not that bad, I guess, but I really want to see any point in using this just for the extra break damage and then like a small damage buff here. Like at this point, you just might as well go for one of the A tier or higher ones that are giving you like an actual physical buff, because like a break damage buff doesn't really matter in my opinion for most characters. So yeah, I want to say this is a really good one. But yeah, you know, that's pretty much about it. Honestly, kind of a good banner, you know. We have a really strong character here with Maki, and then we have a really strong recollection. But so honestly, if you guys, like, I want to believe if you guys want to do some extra something on this, because like the banner quality is actually quite high in this case. But then again, we're gonna be getting way better characters very, very soon anyway. So you know, tomato tomato, right? It's like really good banner, but we're also getting like 3 pretty broken, much more stronger characters than the blue Maki here in under like a couple of weeks, like, you know, starting next month basically. But yeah, you know, I don't really got much else to say other than good luck with your guys' summons if you guys are planning to summon. And with that said, I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace and take care, everybody.